Yes, yes, people. Let's just check that we are live and direct on YouTube. It's saying excellent connection. We're getting a better connection than we was getting the other day. Um, if you didn't watch the stream the other day, we had like a horrible network connection. It kept lagging, it kept freezing, it kept bugging. It wouldn't let me do essentially what I wanted it to do, and it just was being an absolute pain, to say the least. Anyway, this stream is a little bit of a different but random stream, and I might do more of these kind of streams. I might do them more often because um, it might be a little bit different. It actually might be a little bit more fun as well, in that sense as well. So you may have obviously seen by the stream title that it just literally says Axel Gear, and you're probably thinking like, what the hell is this stream about? Like, why have you just loaded up a stream and just essentially titled it Axel Gear? And what is Axel Gear? Or more to the point, who is Axel Gear? For people who don't actually know who Axel Gear is. So Axel Gear is actually the alias of a hardcore producer called Euthian. His real name is Leah Garner, and he is a hardcore, abounds, just an all-round talented music producer. So he goes under the name Euthian, and he produces hardcore that has been released on labels such as 24/7 Hardcore and other hardcore labels besides as well. His hardcore quality production is absolutely fantastic. He's done so many tracks over the years, free downloaded tracks. Again, like I say, tracks that have been like signed to labels such as 24/7 Hardcore. And he also has an alias under the name of Axel Gear. And actually produces bounce music. Now, bounce music is obviously the main sort of reason of why we're doing this stream today. We're focusing upon the Axel Gear side of things, and I just wanted to dive into Axel Gear a little bit more, and I just wanted to do a little stream about this guy, because this guy is for a good few years he was slow. He was just concentrating on his Euthian and his hardcore. However, recently, and when I say recently, just sort of over the past sort of a year, just over, I think, or maybe a bit longer, I'm not sure. He brought Axel Gear back. He started making some bounce music under the name of Axel Gear, and his alias, and quickly started pumping out tunes, and they were releasing on labels like such as Bounce Heaven and DNZ, and he now also releases on like Excite Digital, and just all round just produces and uploads bounce tunes, and they're getting signed all the time. Now, Euthian, I obviously knew him for hardcore. I knew of some of his hardcore tracks. I'd had a few in my hardcore playlists over the years. He did a really banging hardcore remix of Bellissima, and he called it Raver Cuts, and it was kind of like supposed to be the revamp of Silk Cuts, which was like the old school sort of happy hardcore remix to Bellissima, and I do believe it was. I think there was a version of it that got released on Rip to Fuck as well. And anyway, did like a revamp of it, and I always loved that revamp, and I did like playing that in hardcore sets. So when he came back as Axel Gear, or when he started producing as Axel Gear, now bearing in mind, I hadn't heard of the original, like when he did Axel Gear before. Like, I think I might have maybe heard of the tracks before, but just never really like put it together as the same guy, and really took notice of it. Let's say who the producer was, and obviously just obviously decided that at the time, I like that track, but like I say, never really took notice of who did it. And anyway, he obviously came back, and I was obviously growing into this love for bounce music again at the time. And he put a showcase mix up of some of his like upcoming productions, and me being me, just had a listen to it one night, laid in bed, and all I'm gonna say is it blew me away. The whole mix just seamlessly blew me away from the first track until the last track. And this guy, I'm telling you, this guy is bringing a completely different vibe to bounce music, and this is why I wanted to make the stream, because this guy did this showcase mix sort of last year, sort of mid to late last year, and then he did another showcase mix which was going into 2023, and he put all these like new tracks that are going to come out in 2023, and he's just absolutely been killing it with these productions, and this isn't a producer where he's done a couple of tracks that you like and then some of them aren't too good. This is the kind of guy where he will like put up a preview and say, this is the latest track I've been working on, it's going to be available soon, and you just fall in love with it instantly. And I don't know what he's doing with his tracks. I don't know if any producer out there who's a bit more knowledged up than me can help me with this, but it's just like he's bringing a completely different vibe to his bounce tracks, and it's just like he's doing something that we're not hearing in other bounce tracks. It's like his donk sounds are different to that sort of original sort of, well, I call it like an Alex K donk, like the original sort of donk that you hear all the time. And you listen to Axel Gear's tracks, and it's almost like his donks are almost giving off a little bit of a more different sort of like high pitched sound, and they just sound different to like a normal sort of like donk tune. And then at the same time, his tracks kind of give you like a happy hardcore feel to them as well. So they've kind of got these real sort of like uplifting like breakdowns and really nice pianos, and then they go into these like euphoric hardstyle melodies that you'd kind of hear in like a Rob IYF hardcore track, for example. And this guy is just absolutely blowing me away, and I've got so many tracks from this producer because there's just not really a single track out there that I don't particularly like, and I haven't got all of his tracks, and I think that is just down to the fact that I just haven't got round to getting them all. But there's just so many amazing tracks out there up on this list, and I just thought what I'd do is do a little bit of a stream, talk about this guy, and just show you a little bit about what this guy has done production-wise, and I'll sort of like play you some of my what I think is my favourite tracks of his, and then I'll play you like tracks that I love from him, but they're not necessarily like my most favourite, if that makes sense. But there's loads of tracks down here on Virtual DJ, and he's done absolutely amazing tracks here. So the top one you can see here, which we'll go down them all in the list, I think, and we'll have a little preview of each track, and then I'll like show you something with one of my favourite tracks from his. So the first one is a remix of Take Off, and I can't remember for the life of me the original, but it was a chart tune probably about 10-12 years ago, and it was in the charts, and I think the original track was called Take It Off, and you'll know what I mean when I play it. So I'm going to put it onto the decks, and then we're just going to put the volume up, and yeah, so I'm just going to play a little bit of it, and we'll sort of skip through it. So obviously you can hear there's the sort of like your normal sort of average like kick and claps and all that stuff, and you can already hear instantly it's building. So obviously more percussion has come in. You can hear it building.
Turn up the bass right now.
And then obviously we've got that little vocal chop there, turn up the bass right now. And this is where it gets different for me. And this is originally when I first heard sort of like this sort of like Axel Gear. Like when I first heard the donks come in, this is what really caught my attention, because this is what I hadn't heard in other tracks. Now listen to this. So you can obviously hear that the donk just sounds a little bit sort of like more high pitched. It sounds a little bit more, it just sounds different to like a normal, if I just go on ever so quickly, like if I just go and drag in, like say, I might have maybe like a Benjamin on here or something like that. Yeah, so I've got Benjamin here. So if I click on his, and then we'll just sort of like cut to where the donk comes in.
Let me think about this.
So that's like that's his donk. So you can just tell that his just sounds a little bit more high pitched, and it just sounds a little bit more different and happy. It gives like a proper happy vibe to it. So let's continue.
Turn up the bass right now.
He's got these real nice sort of like melodies coming in already. The breakdowns already, they just sound so full. They sound so good. There's just more sounds coming in like as the track's going along, and it's just wicked. So no, the vocal didn't just come in on its own. A belting piano came with it. And then there's like a little break beat that comes in, and everything just sounds so full and complements it. And it just, again, it doesn't sound like these other bounce tracks that we hear that are coming out all the time. And it's just actually like just really, really different. And I think this is really what hooked me.
Right now.
And then you can hear that obviously like that melody comes in, that real euphoric hard style. And then boom, we're in. And it's just got that real happy vibe to it, as you can obviously tell. So the second one is Axel Gear, and it's Space Observe. So you'll remember this one. It's been like a classic rave tune for a long time, and there's been like quite a lot of different versions of this, and you'll recognise the space sound. I can't fully remember where it comes from, but you'll know it. So let's have a listen. So again, there's like classic, like kicks and claps. Bass is coming in. So this one's kind of a little bit of a darker donk in it. It's a little bit more gritty. It kind of gives it a little bit of a, you're taking the set a bit harder now in that sense. He's got a sample in there from Public Domain, Rock the Funky Beats. So you could actually scrap that whole sort of like first part if you wanted, and you could actually come from here. You could set your cue here, and you could just, and that could just be the start of your set, and that would work. And I did do that on a recorded mix that I did, a promo mix, and I started with this track because I thought, yeah, it's a really nice way to to start a set. So.
Rock the funky beat. Go!
Yeah, so this one kind of gives it a little bit like an old school rave vibe, and I just absolutely love it. It gives a really good feel. I think it's a really nice way to start a set as well, with just that real nice space sound, and it's just easing you in to what the set's about to become. So I'll just skip through a little bit more and then we'll move on. Kind of gives you like a little bit of an old school feel there, and then it kind of like just goes back, and then it goes back into another breakdown, drops again, and just takes you towards the end of the track in itself. So one thing about Axel Gear as well, now it's not on every track, but on most of his tracks, when you come out of the second breakdown and it drops, and it only drops for like 16 bars, and then it is literally the outro to the track. And it does give it quite a good feel, does that? Like, it's quite a good vibe. And a lot of the tracks as well, you've got like the 16 bar outro of just like the kicks and the bass, like no vocals and melodies. And then normally on a bounce track, you'd go back to just like kicks and claps without the bass. Well, this one, when it gets to the end of the bass, the track actually just ends. It doesn't always give off a bad vibe either. And it actually works in Axel Gear's tracks, which is good. So the next one is Axel Gear, So Excited. Now this one for me is, I think this is possibly one of my most favourite tracks that he's ever done. And the bass on this, like the intro to the bass, is just absolutely wicked. And when you have a sort of like, when you go sort of going in a mix, and one tune's about to end, and you double drop the donk, and this So Excited comes in, it just sounds so sick. It just sounds so different, because the donk bass and So Excited is so different, and it's so powerful as well, that it kind of almost just proper, you can really hear it come in, along with that other bass from the current track that's playing. It just gives it something so different and unique. So let's take a little bit of a look into what it is actually. Do you know what I mean? So let's have a look and see what it sounds like. So let's go. So it's obviously building up. And when this is coming in towards the end of another track, listen to the donk on this. So can you just imagine that coming over the top of another donk? It just sounds absolutely fantastic. So let me do you a little demonstration now. So we'll have the Benjamin track, and I'll just sync it for the sake of this stream, because obviously we're not here. Like, I don't have a controller or anything set up, so right, so let's go back. So let's find the end part.
Let me sing about the next.
Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring this next track in, and we're going to mix it in, and you'll hear what I mean.
Let me sing about the next.
So yeah, so that's how it sounds when you mix it in, and it sounds truly amazing. Now, it didn't sound perfect on here because Virtual DJ, it's not the best software, in my opinion, but it will obviously, it's not that good. I don't think. I prefer like Record Box, but that lags quite a lot when you're streaming. This is lagging a bit, but it's not too bad. It's usable for the stream. So the track anyway is Axel Gear, So Excited, and it's a remix of, I think is it the Sister Siege, I believe, and it was a 70s track. And I always sort of put it in that category of like disco songs, and I also put it in the category of songs that you play at like birthdays and weddings, like for older people, sort of like middle-aged people, so people at like sort of like late 40s, early 50s that aren't necessarily into rave tunes, and they like a bit of Motown, and they like a bit of like 70s and stuff, and it was actually a really good song, and it goes like, I'm so excited and I just can't hide it, I'm about to lose control and I think I like it. And then there was obviously a version that was done for the voucher advert as well, and it was like, I've just seen a voucher deal and I think I like it. Well, Axel Gear has in fact done a version, or done this bounce version of that track, and I think that I'm aware of like someone else has actually re-sang it, but it just sounds so good, and it's something that I never in a million years would have expected there to be like a bounce remix of it. It's just absolutely brilliant. It sounds banging, everything works, and it's just like a really good sort of like happy bounce tune. So let's have a little bit of a listen.
I'm about to lose control and I'm just getting high.
So yeah, it's got like a real happy sort of piano tune to it, and it just sounds really good, and it just sounds absolutely banging. So the next one is Scary Monsters. Now, I just like the vocal in this. I just think the vocal's got like a real happy, but at the same time like a real sort of like high-pitched sort of like person singing it, and it just has like a real sort of like weird feel to it, but it's meant to be like sort of scary in a way, but it's giving it more like a happy feel. It almost reminds me of like a little kid singing, is the way to describe it. So let's have a listen. So what I really like here is it came in and it almost like instantly gave you that sort of like feel of like a hard bounce track. And then there was like 8 bars of this like bass, and then it was like this extra bass came in that gave it like a real sort of like just an even more powerful feel. Almost kind of like a little bit of a scouse bass behind it. And for whatever reason, it worked. It has this sort of like scouse feel that almost came into it, and just sounds wicked. Sounds really good. So let's go into the breakdown.
Someone said, be scared of the monsters that lurking in the dark. But I believe we're stuck in the moment, chasing all the stars. I don't wanna be alone. I don't wanna be alone. I don't wanna stay at home. I don't wanna stay at home. Then someone says, be scared of the monsters that lurking in the dark.
So there's that like real heavy lead, like which I was kind of on about, and people might be like screaming at me here because I don't actually have any sort of like knowledge of the original track or like where it actually comes from. Like it could be sort of like I don't know if it's to do with a film or I don't know what the other version is. I might have heard it before and just forgotten, but like this Axel Gear version for me was obviously like it was completely brand new, and I don't recall hearing anything like this before. So if you do know if it's like something almost like real famous and you've actually like heard it before and you're thinking like you should have heard this, Noble, or you should know what this is, and you're screaming at the screen, then I do apologise. Let's have a quick little listen to some more of it. I don't want to go like too much in detail with these tracks because I want to get through them as well, as obviously just sort of like playing the full tracks. So we'll have a quick little listen to a bit more and then we'll move on. So yeah, you can just tell again, it gives off like a happy vibe, but it gives off like a hard vibe as well. So it almost sounds and feels a little bit harder. And then obviously we're going to go with the next one. So the next one is Axel Gear, and this is Need You to Stay. And this is probably one of the tracks, like I like it, but it's definitely not my favourite of Axel Gear's. And I think the track itself, I think if I'm right in remembering, it's I don't want to say too recent, but it is more of a like a modern chart song, and I think I do remember it being in the charts. And it's still a nice track, and I still play it in sets, but there's definitely other tracks on this list that just sound a lot more better to me. And the donk sounds a little bit more like your normal generic donk as well. It sounds a little bit more in that climb.
Told you I changed, even when I knew I never could. Know that I can't find nobody
So yeah, it sounds good. It's got a nice lead behind it. It just has a really good feel to it. But again, it's just the original was never like a favorite of mine. It's not my favorite, but nevertheless, like it's not me saying like it's a horrible track, because it's not. It's still a brilliant track. It's just, that, like, if it came to like, you've got a choice here of picking a couple of Axel Gear tracks, I probably wouldn't pick that one. There's other ones that would get the pick first. The next one is Axel Gear and Make the Track Spin. Now, this is a remix of a trance track. I can't remember the name of the original for the life of me, and it's absolutely banging. Is this track? It's got a really the lead in it is just absolutely amazing. The sound is put on the lead, but it just blows me away, and I can't wait. I've not played it yet in a club, and I can't wait to do it. And I am going to play it at my next gig for definite. So this is Axel Gear, and this is Keith T. So you can see there, Keith T. So let's have a listen, and you'll see how good this one is as well. So it's got some really nice sounds in there. Already loads of nice euphoric sounds coming in. But listen to when this melody drops, because this is when it sounds really good.
Like that, make the track spin.
Listen to that. I'm not being funny, right, but is that not just like sex in the ear? Like, honestly, that just sounds so good. It comes in just so... It just takes you away. Like, it just comes in real, like, do 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 do, and it just has like such a wicked sound over it that it just absolutely blows you away. It sounds so heavy. It sounds so different from any other original track that you'd hear. Again, it almost gives it like it's got a real nice like hardstyle lead over it. It just sounds so fat and euphoric. So we'll listen to the drop.
Like that, make the track spin.
It just sounds so good, really does.
Don't let go.
Like that, make the track spin.
Stop, drop, let it roll. Don't let go. God feel the soul. Stop, drop, let it roll. Don't let go. God feel the soul. Stop, drop, let it roll. Stop, drop, let it roll. Stop, drop.
So yeah, it just sounds absolutely wicked. So we'll move on to the next one. The next one is Axel Gear. This is Axel Gear Connection and Miss Deefy, and this is called Jessica. So I don't originally know where this track comes from, but I do know there's a Makina version of this track called My Name is Jessica, and it is a vocal basically about this person called Jessica that has a habit for drugs. And I've heard like a Monta Musica sort of like Makina version of the track, and then I've heard some other versions like over time. Like I've heard some like hard style versions and stuff, but I've never been completely sure like where it actually comes from. I'm not sure like what the original track is. I'm not sure if like the vocals are out of a movie or anything. I just know I just know that I've heard a few like different rave versions of it, and I've always liked them. And I do like this version as well that Axel Gear's done. Brings a really nice bounce version to the table.
My name is Jessica. Some kids call me a slut. And I've a dirty habit for ecstasy. Give me it. I want it bad. No, Jessica, don't get involved with drugs. She likes it. Naughty girl with a bad habit for drugs. She's a party girl with a bad.
So again, it's got that real nice euphoric lead sound in there that, again, it just sounds so different. Like we're hearing these in bounce tracks, where you'd normally hear them in like hard style and hardcore tracks, and they're just, they sound so good, and it feels like we hear people like attempt them in bounce tracks, and they don't always sound like as good, and it feels like Axel Gear sort of brought like the same idea to bounce, but it's almost like he's done it properly, and they really do sound fat, they really do sound full, and they really do just give off a good vibe to the track in total. So we'll have just a quick listen to the drop. We'll move on. I'm probably not going to go through them all now, because we've been streaming for quite a while already. I'll just like cut to some of my like most favourite ones. And yeah, we might do this again like with some other artists and take a listen to some of their other tunes. This guy is just getting like all round like applause, like good vibes about his tracks, because I love them, so I like, if we do decide to do like more than one artist, then obviously like I might not always say good things about every artist, like not in a bad way, but I'll probably just like constructive criticize the track. Like, if there's a part I don't like, I'll probably just say, look, I'm not keen on it. Like, obviously, I'm not going to sit there and just go, it's a horrible track. I'm not that nasty. But, I'll just, like, be honest and truthful in the nicest way possible. So the next one I'm going to go for is actually Flowers. I like this one because it actually brings a completely different vibe. So let's have a listen. Here we go. So you can tell already in this one he's gone for the sort of like organ bass. He's gone for a little bit of a lighter track in this one. And by the way, this is a remix of the Sweet Female Attitude, the Flowers, I'll Bring You Flowers in the Pouring Rain. And he's still sort of somehow in this organ track managed to like bring in that real nice heavy lead again, real nice euphoric lead, and I love it. It sounds really good, and the piano in it is amazing, and that is what first hooked me to this track. I heard someone play it on a live stream, and I thought, actually, I really like this track. So there we go. So obviously that's a bit of the drop, and then it just goes back into the chorus, and a verse again and then a breakdown, and it just sounds really good. It's got an absolutely wicked vibe to it. So the next one is the Chase You, and this does actually say Noble Edit because I was actually trying something just for a set, so I don't actually know what this one actually sounds like. But essentially with this track, it actually drops straight into vocals on the original one, and I wanted like a 16 bars of just kick and bass with no vocals, so I think I tried to make it, and I just don't know if I did something wrong and then just never went back and did anything to it, but you'll still get the feel for the track. For some reason it's just put that one in instead, but we'll have a listen. So Chase You, so let's have a listen. Yeah, so you could hear there was a little like, when it first came in, there was a horrible just here. Where it's at, where I've actually just caught the back end of a vocal trying to rearrange it. But this is a remix of Catch You. I can't remember the original artist's name, but there's been like, I know Scott Brown did a version, and then there was another hardcore version that got done like quite later on as well. And the original track was quite a good tune in itself. There's been a few different versions of it. There's like sort of like a hard trance version as well. There's like a version that say the likes of like Billy Gillis and David Rustad drop as well. I always like this version. It brings off another good vibe. So again, pianos, nice euphoric melody in there, which is a big vibe, along with the basses that's attracting me to like the Axel Gear production. So we'll listen to a couple more, and then we shall call it a day with this. But the next one we're actually going to listen to is his remix of Paffendorf Be Cool. Now, I was a little bit skeptical of this track when it first came out, I'm not going to lie, because it came out towards the back end of last year, 2022, and sort of January, sort of February time of 2022, a friend of mine called Ashton, he did a rework of Paffendorf Be Cool, and he did this like really good version. It was a solid version, and I played it in pretty much every set that year, because I just absolutely loved it. I fell in love with it. And Axel Gear did a version of it, and I wasn't at first too sure like what I thought of it compared to the Ashton version, because Ashton sort of takes on more like a rework, so it kind of sounds like the original but reworked. And it just essentially sounds banging, and it still does. Whereas the Axel Gear version gives it a little bit more of like a harder, again with like a euphoric sort of hard styley sort of lead sound in there. And I just wasn't sure at first, and then I got hold of the track itself, and it's like I've just absolutely fallen in love with it, and I love it. It gives off a different vibe. I love the lead sound in it. It just sounds absolutely fantastic. The bass in it is really good. It's got like a real heavy bass in it. So let's have a quick skeg. So it's almost giving off like a little bit of a scouse bass. It sounds wicked. So you could obviously see there, like, the vocals in there. Real nice breakdown coming in with, like, sim sounds and just real good, like, background noise. And then we've kind of got this like melody sound that actually sounds a little bit lighter and different, and then it drops in to what is the amazing lead sound in this track.
Everybody be cool. You be cool.
And that just sounds amazing, doesn't it? I always loved the original Paffendorf. It was always a favourite of mine back in the day, sort of like growing up. And when Ashton did his version, I loved it. Now I love this version as well. Absolutely belting. So let's have just a quick skeg into the drop, and then we'll do one more track, and then we'll wrap the stream up.
Everybody be cool. You be cool.
Yeah, so it just sounds real good. It sounds real ravey. It sounds real happy as well. Just sounds like something that would go off in a club, essentially. And one thing I do want to say as well is I go to a lot of nights where people are playing bounce, and either where I'm playing at bounce events myself, and I don't hear a lot of people playing his tracks in sets. So you'll hear like the typical like Scott F, Benjamin, Shanks tracks, and stuff like that. But when it comes to like Axel Gear, I don't hear a lot of his tracks like in sets. I don't know if people just haven't really checked him out, or they don't really know about him, or they're just not really sure whether they like it or not, or it's not what they're used to playing. But I genuinely love dropping his tracks in sets. I just think, most definitely they sound wicked. So the final track we're going to do is we're going to do Axel Gear with Dirk Dog. And this is their remix of the classic Flip and Fill, Discoland, which is honestly, these as soon as I heard the preview of this, this was one of them tunes where I just knew that I had to have it, and it just sounds absolutely wicked. So we'll take a quick listen. It's got a really nice bass to it. It's got a real nice lead again to it. Sounds real happy. This really does give me like a real happy vibe when I'm listening to the track. We have just froze on the virtual DJ, but it will come back. Don't worry. It just sort of, for some reason, it just freezes for a little bit. So it's here now. So we'll have a quick listen, just like this. So what I will tell you already is that the vocal's been re-sung, and it sounds really good actually. I actually really like the person that's re-sang this. It almost gives me the vibe that like a young kid sang it again, kind of like with the Scary Monsters. It almost kind of sounds like the person that sang Scary Monsters like sung Discoland when they got a little bit older. And it really like, I feel like when they sung Scary Monsters, they were like a little kid. And then when they sang Discoland, they'd be like a teenager, sort of like 12, maybe like sort of like 13, 14. Just giving off like a real, but it gives off that real like happy hardcore vibe to it as well. it just also feels like they hit all the notes right as well with the singing, and going high pitched with their voice again just sounds wicked. Again, the lead in there is just absolutely wicked as well. It just gives off like a really good vibe. And I actually, I can't believe I'm saying this, but at the moment, as a definite, I actually prefer it to the Flip and Fill version. There's just something about it that I'm just hooked on. It just has a real good, happy vibe to it. So we'll listen to it drop. So again, it just sounds absolutely amazing. And Axel Gear has done so many amazing tunes, from Feeling Good, 9 PM, Are You With Me, Bring the Ruckus, and Arms of Lauren. They're all absolute belters. Arms of Lauren is a banger. 9 PM is also like the Paffendorf Be Cool, just sounds absolutely sick. Are You With Me? It, again, is another really good intro tune, actually, that kind of sounds like, it's like someone like sort of explaining, building a track, but it's like doing it sort of like as a track itself. It sounds really good. Again, Bring the Ruckus again just has another really good sound to it as well. Feeling Good is that remix that David Guetta did of the Blue Dada D, and got that singer going, I'm good and I'm feeling alright, I'ma have the best night of my life. So obviously that's a remix of that, but again, it sounds good, sounds really awesome. And all of his tracks are just absolutely banging. So the point of this stream was, I just feel for me that this producer is going to different lengths that we're not hearing in other bounce tracks, and I just feel like everything sort of from like the bass, the melodies, just all give these tracks like a different feel. Like I say, to what we don't normally hear. Like when you listen to like a Benjamin track, it sounds nothing like this. But if you listen to a Benjamin track and then you go and listen to a track from Shanks, they sound similar. And I know like a lot of these people go into the Rebound studio, which, don't get me wrong, I've got no issue in that, but I just kind of feel like the tracks and some of the basses and some of the sounds just sound exactly the same, and then you play like an Axel Gear track and it just gives you a completely different vibe. So I don't know how he's making his donks, I don't know where he's getting his sounds from for his donks, like what plugins he's using, but I definitely suggest going forward that Axel Gear, if he did end up watching this, he might search himself up on YouTube one day and think, oh, this guy's streamed about me with my logo as the thumbnail. But yeah, I think maybe one day Axel Gear should put together an Axel Gear sample pack and just put like a few sort of like stuff in there that you know, just to give people a little bit of a different vibe to their tracks. And I think it'd be really nice just to see what people could come up with using an Axel Gear sample pack. And it might just shy people away a bit from sort of using the same sounds. And I'm not saying like every track should sound like an Axel Gear track, because that would, in a lot of sense, that would ruin the uniqueness that Axel Gear has gone for, and that is probably or obviously why he's never released a sample pack, or why he maybe wouldn't want to release a sample pack, because maybe he knows himself that within his bounce tracks he's creating something a little bit more unique, that he thinks like, you know, if I put a pack out there, I don't want everybody to obviously just start making a track like I do. In that sense, but yeah, I love his sound, I love the uniqueness, and I actually just thought we'll go ahead and we'll do a little stream on this guy, and we'll just absolutely because I'm just loving the production, and if anything, I just want you guys to check this guy out as well. And if you do mix bounce and you do mix donk, buy some of these tracks, man, because they will change your set completely. Even if you just drop one of his tracks during a set, like halfway through, it'll just bring in such a different vibe, and people will probably love the happiness of it, the euphoric lead sounds in his tracks. So make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to share, and we'll see you next time.